Hello and welcome. We are going to be going over the fire bowl and planter basics in this training series. In this segment, we're going to be prepping the molds. I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to prep the molds to make breakouts really easy. Okay, what you're actually seeing here is a bowl that they feed cattle out of on farms and that kind of thing. So if you have any type of farm supply in your area, check them out. They have different sizes. If you want to, you can actually pick these up online and order them directly from the manufacturer. They have many different sizes to choose from. There's been at least 20 to 25 bowls probably created out of these exact molds right here. What I like to do is every 3 or 4 breakouts, I like to clean up the molds and remove any residue that's either from the mold release itself or from the concrete. It just makes breaking out so much easier. I do this with using sandpaper, usually around 220 or 300. You don't want to get any rougher than that. It's basically just taking off the residue and just turn it into a powder. And then what you'll do is, you'll see here shortly, is I'll spray the actual mold down and wipe it out. And it just gives it a fresh surface. I paid about $8 a piece for these bowls. What they are, they're 7-gallon utility bowls, and they're model number KMD 102. They're 21 inches wide and 6 inches high. They make a perfect fire bowl for on top of pillars, even on patio tabletops, bar areas, that kind of thing. Just continue to run through the surface and get it clean. And don't forget about your edges right here on the corners and the actual top of the rim, because all of these areas will be sprayed with mold release, so it will release pretty easy. I wanted to point this out real quick. There's a 5/8 drill hole in the bottom of that mold right there. The reason I have that, you'll see later on in the series, but I use an air compressor to lift these molds right off the concrete. As you can see here, there's a lot of buildup that takes place. But the one on the far left there, that's, if you can keep it looking like that, breakout is so much easier. I do a lot of work inside of the shop, so I try to use a shop vac as much as possible. And what I'll do is just drop them down into the bowls and start sanding. And a lot of that excess dust will just get sucked through the shop vac. I also use it whenever I'm mixing as well, which you'll see later on. Okay, all I'm doing here is using a pump-up sprayer and just spraying the entire surface and then just wiping out all the debris with a clean towel. If you're outside, you can just basically just spray this thing down with a water hose. And also, when you're doing this process, just look at the molds themselves. Make sure there's no deep grooves cut into them. If you're going to be trying to get a real smooth finish, they will show up if there's any grooves or any type of cuts, or if you use a real rough sandpaper, you'll see all those scratches. I usually just hand press these bowls, so it doesn't really matter. I like more of a rustic look than a contemporary look. So if you're going to do contemporary, try to keep those molds separated, and you really don't have to pay a whole lot of attention to the ones that you're using for rustic looks. Even some of the fine scratches that you see here in this mold, due to the age of the mold and how many uses I've gotten out of it, if you were to spray this with a face coat and then come back with a GFRC back coat and pop it out, they would show up. So just be cautious of that. Okay, this is a recycled bottle that was actually a household cleaner. I just washed it out and took the label off. Make sure you label whatever bottle you're using mold release in. This will keep you from spraying accidentally mold release on something that you're trying to color. Once mold release hits that surface, it will not take color, and it will really won't let anything adhere to it. I actually use mold release in some of the colorations that I do on some of my projects. I will have future videos on that as well. Just pour your mold release into the bottle using a funnel. I usually set the bottle directly inside of the mold. That way if I have any spillage like you can see I just did, that's okay. Just set it on a towel, or either set it, if you have another bowl that you're getting ready to press like I'm doing right here, just set it into that bowl and then just go ahead and get your mold release spread around. There is a lot of freebie videos online. They show you using car motor oil as a release. You can't do that because the detail and intricate designs as far as colorations, that kind of thing that we're going to be doing here, the color will not stick to it, and even sealer over time will fail when you go to seal these things. Also, you're going to see a different mixture that's used online. They just use regular concrete. We're going to use a fire clay so that these things can be heated up as a fire bowl and not explode, because concrete without refractory mortar will explode. Another little trick that works well is spray your sides like I'm doing now. Saturate them pretty good, and then come back with the brush and brush from the bottom of the sidewall all the way up to the top, and then around your rim up top as well. There are many different options out at home improvement stores or landscape supply stores that have different style planters. I have actually used a taller planter, and as long as the inside is smooth like you see here, you can hand press and come up, even 2 foot tall and make a planter. Have fun looking for different sizes and shapes, and just be creative. There's so many different things you can do, and it doesn't have to be expensive molds that you would find online. Well, at this time the mold release application is almost complete. We're going to just do a quick spray down one more time, and while that coat dries, we will go over and start mixing up concrete, and then we will be coming back to press in these fire bowls. Once again, take the time to label all of your items that you used when you use the mold release, just to keep you from using it on another surface by mistake. And a lot of the items that you use, like spray bottles and brushes, can be reused over and over again. So just label them, and then you always know. Okay, now that we have all of that prep out of the way, now we're moving on to mix design and mixing.